All right, here we go.
Sure, I will stop it, no problem.
All right, we'll be starting in 1 minute, guys. Just getting my live streaming in order. All right, George, it is live streaming now. Please let me know if it appears.
Okay, I'm refreshing the page.
Okay.
Yes, it's working.
Perfect. All right, well, let's get started. I again want to thank everybody who joined us today for our great content session on how to use ChatGPT to create personalized experiences for your customers. So this conversation will be focused on marketing application in general, optimizing web presence, that type of conversation. And we'll keep it an open discussion. And I know there are many of you. We have 46 so far, and we'll probably hit about 80 in and out. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, be it here on this thread or on Facebook. We'll make sure to answer most of them. The only thing I would request is please do not ask any technical support questions on VBOUT. It's not quite the call for that, even though I would love to answer you. I just have very limited time. This session will run about an hour. So you can block that time if possible. If you cannot, because you have to leave, do not worry. All the content, the recording, and everything will be shared with you after this presentation. So a quick check. I have with me Elsa, George, and Jalal as my guests and assistant. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So let's dive right into it. But before we do that, just a quick shout out to our community. We are 20,000 members strong, and our reach is way more than that. I'm just counting those who opted into our content strictly. 8 years in the making. We do these every month, except 2 months out of the year for just a quick break. And we share the latest content and marketing that's going to be relevant to you. So whatever we learn internally to build technologies, we make them into content that you can enrich your own internal knowledge base, you can share with your team, and we can also repurpose and use for your own event. We're always open for resharing content. You can just credit us back or not, it's totally up to you, but I'm all for passing on the knowledge. So thank you for joining us. If it's for your first time attending those events, we do them on a monthly basis, so welcome. I would love for you to join our Facebook group, not because we spam you, not because we do hard selling. That's never our culture. We just want you to get the latest notifications on our events, our latest releases on VBOUT, and I'll explain what VBOUT is in a second, and any just relevant information and news that you might find important. So that's what the purpose of the group is. Of course, we do use it for other things, like asking questions about VBOUT, some technical requests, product requests. So it's a very vibrant community. I would love for you to join us. And George, who is assisting me, will be dropping in the link in the chat. Also, if you'd like to support us on TikTok, we're trying to kickstart this by breaking, kind of also giving some 1-minute tips and things you can utilize for your own knowledge. We'd love to have you in our community there as well. George will be dropping in the link for your convenience too. All right, so talking about VBOUT, I won't take much, just 2 minutes. This is our pretty much parent company. We started it in 2014, so it's about 7-8 years in the making. We have built the product with a small team focused on you. So everything you see on VBOUT is pretty much feedback from the community. We were able to land some of the top performers on, consistently for 5 years now on G2 and GetApp and other platforms. There are hundreds of us out there, but VBOT has secured some of the top, 20 in and out of the best products out there. To kind of summarize what we do, we have a marketing automation stack as a layer focused on marketing. We built the product so it's easy to learn and master. We provide it at a great price. We also provide all kinds of support. Many of you probably vouch for this, but we do have human support that's premium and unparalleled in the industry. Real people helping you, getting in there and guiding you if you need. We have also built in AI in every single feature of the platform, some of which haven't been launched yet, many of which have been launched, and we'll talk about some of these in a little bit. So that's kind of our pillars building VBOT. We have about 10 plus tools working together, ensuring, top of the funnel stuff like generating leads, so you can build landing pages, forms, and pop-ups in VBOT. Then you can track those leads that come in through our robust tracking system, where they came from, what they clicked on, emails they interacted with, pretty much everything, including e-com, if you have an e-commerce purchase history on those leads. And our technology with automation, to be particular, allows you to create those robust sequences of events of what happens after. So everything else that comes after, from email campaign to social media for maintaining your brand, are also available on the platform. So we have a lot of tools working together in one stack. And again, we're really focused on the marketing, and we integrate pretty well with thousands of apps out there, some of which are built natively, some of which are built using middleware like Pabbly, Zapier, Nexit, Make, Integrate, Integromat, and others. Okay. So that's kind of what we do. And in the general landscape of things, VBOT is positioned right between the underkills and the overkills. So instead of purchasing a HubSpot marketing license or purchasing, I don't know, like on the low end of good products like MailChimp, VBOT is right in between, because we provide the depth of features at an amazing price, and we are powered by AI on many aspects of the product. So this is what VBOT is. If you are looking for a marketing stack for your company, if you're moving out of HubSpot because it's pricey, if MailChimp hasn't been doing well for you, or if you're using some other products and you feel like you're not getting the support you deserve, I would love to talk to you. Maybe my success team, not myself. They will guide you if VBOT is the right fit, give you the right package that fits your budget, and probably save you money. And George will be dropping in the chat a link to our demo page. All right. This is it so far. We have 72 people. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, probably coming in from all corners of the world. Some of you actually are logging in at 2, 3, 4 a.m. I see your names and I know that you are really dedicated for this. So we appreciate you. Again, this is live streamed, recorded. Everything we'll be discussing today will be available to you after the call, after the session. Quick mic check, George. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's very clear.
All right. Cool. So in terms of the topic of today, we are going to be discussing ChatGPT, which has been obviously the buzz for a few months now, and everything around it focus on marketing. Happy to extend the conversation to beyond. But for those of you who do not know what ChatGPT is, but I'm sure most of you do, it's a natural language processing model that was built by OpenAI. They ingested 10% or so of the internet content, be it books, articles, some transcriptions from videos, open source, Wikipedia as a whole, a lot of sources ingested into this model to be able to provide you with, generative AI content. So they have different models that will be released in terms of how you can use the platform. Right now, at GPT-4, I believe, but the base of the product is GPT-3, and some of the data on GPT-3 is limited at 2001. So sometimes you might be trying to get latest news or latest topics. You might find the data slightly outdated on that front. And the data has been trained to really think like a human using the neural network in a way. So they ingest all that data and it can generate responses that are human-like responses that you can have conversations with, and obviously it gets better as you communicate with it. So there are lots of components, and OpenAI is not something that just started a few months ago. Obviously, it has been for a couple of years, but they released their API a year ago, which helped a lot of developers start to build on it, I believe a little over a year. But then they did something amazing, which is they launched their chat interface, and that changed everything. So what you're using today in their chat interface is not necessarily something too recent. It's just they created an easy way to use it versus using their code in the backend. Okay. And ChatGPT also has, as you can see, their users have just shot off the roof. And I believe they have, 100 million plus users. That was almost a few months in growth. And they use about 175 million machine learning parameters as it's, and is higher compared to predecessors. So they're improving their model on the data input. I know this is a lot, it's a mouthful of data, but if I am to summarize kind of the internet started with, back in the 90s, where people have access to things and not as easy access to information. Then we moved to the search engine world, where access to information is really easy. You can ask anything and get responses. But ChatGPT, OpenAI is making accessing that information, the way you access that information as a whole, a lot easier. So that transition in not enough data, not enough information, to a lot of information available at your fingertip, to a much better structured data relevant to you is kind of that curve of transformation. All right. So in terms of some of the working models in there, I won't get you too much in depth because that gets a little geeky. But again, they're using a neural network. It's almost like a human brain in the way they programmed it. And it's capable of generating responses without guidance. So sometimes the responses are quite unique to the questions and how you ask the question. All right, so a lot of the conversations that you've heard so far are on the web, around creating data, content, articles, blog posts, outlines for things. It extends a lot more than that. So although this is saying that, it's a wide range of conversational tasks, I have to extend a little bit that claim to say it actually can do a lot more processes. And we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, I'll pause here to see if any questions are out there. I know that's, again, a mouthful. Does anyone not know what ChatGPT OpenAI is at this point? All right, George, anything on your end?
No, it's fine from my side. What people are happy with this topic so far.
Great. Now, obviously, some of you are already dropping me some messages. ChatGPT is one component on the web. Just like everything else on the web, all the copycats are going to follow. So Google has their own Bard component that came out. Supposedly, it relies on web data that's more recent. Although I've compared questions and responses between ChatGPT and Bard, I can attest that ChatGPT provides better answers. Yet a lot of the things Bard wasn't able to provide, and it provided me with a lot of wrong data. So when I asked things like who founded Vbout, it gave me some random people. It's just funny. Anyways, I think Facebook's coming up with their own, the Bing search engine, which somebody dropped in here, was probably powered by ChatGPT. I haven't tested it, so thank you, John. But seems Bing have AI-powered search now, which is crazy. Anyways, all right. So we have 79 people. That's awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. So let's talk about the benefits of using ChatGPT. All right, first, I'm going to start not from the familiar, which is content. I want to talk about fast-tracking development of apps. A lot of coders and developers have started to tap into the power of OpenAI to help them with coding and proofing code. Okay, and with easy integrations with GitHub and others, you can now literally just create a function that does X, Y, Z. So for example, you can feed it a prompt like write me a jQuery command that does a cursive check on 5 arrays. And I'm just throwing some random coding terms. It will produce that for you. So whereas coding in the past used to be just you have to memorize all the functions, now you can parse a lot of those functions as a command, and ChatGPT will give you back that code. And then you can take obviously the code through the API, you can add it to GitHub, you can upload it to your own FTP and create a basic web page. So there's lots you can do on fast tracking developments of apps. It's not going to replace a developer, but it can certainly assist junior level developers in doing tedious tasks or repetitive tasks or basic front-end tasks. Now in VBot, what we're doing is we are taking our API and making the machine learn a little bit our commands to help fine-tune some of the prompts. So I'm pretty sure that what OpenAI has done is probably has taken every single or the majority of the coding languages of the world and also fed it to the engine so it can produce those kinds of prompts. Okay. So in terms of accelerating the programming, it's definitely one of the things that's out there. Coding, and I've seen a couple of products that already can generate like a full-on web page for you accordingly. Now, don't count too much on the design aspect of it. It doesn't do a great job in designing the aesthetics and the backgrounds and the fonts and all of that, but it's a great starting point for that. Awesome. Now, the second is customer satisfaction. This one is a way that you can, or benefits of using ChatGPT, because it can replace part human interaction by autonomously answering questions, basic questions from customers and leads and stuff like that. So you can think of it as a legit chatbot that could be easily created around your own content and knowledge base. It could be also a little bit more accurate than training a new support person. Oftentimes, and if you work with support, live chat support, you find yourself training them on their knowledge base, where things are, how to respond. You can create a model and a chatbot around that culture to some extent, and you can provide answers fairly quickly by ingesting your own knowledge base. So improving customer satisfaction by providing, on the spot, fast 24/7 support could be one way of doing it. It could also reduce costs, obviously, as a nature of what I just discussed, at least the first two benefits. Because responses are quick, because you don't need to train the interface on 2 or 3 different languages, because by the way, you can ingest your own knowledge base, let's say in English, but you can have people ask questions in Arabic, Spanish, and different languages, and the answers can be, returned back in those languages. So the benefits of creating that can reduce costs significantly. Otherwise, you'd have to have, let's say, 5 different people in different countries answering basic questions. I'm not talking about like level 1 support that you really need a human interaction. I'm talking about some basic questions like, how can we get started with your product, or how much do you, do you charge for a tier 1, tier 2, those kind of questions. A lot of manual work on training team members can also be eliminated if you are using that layer in the front end instead of having to train a lot of people. So this is kind of the third benefit of doing that. It can definitely boost sales. And I know this is a big claim. I personally don't like to say that something boosts your sales, because boosting sales is a process. But because sometimes responses can be accurate, it can detect intent also accurately. Sadly, sometimes more so than humans can, because I've tested this where I passed some responses from clients about interest to team members, and I kind of understood how they received that response as an interest in buying, or just interest in features, or interest in technical questions. And I've gotten different answers, whereas ChatGPT understood this as a positive. So with that being said, the detection engine in there that detects sentiment can help you identify intent a little bit better, and obviously suggest things like calendar bookings and things like that a little bit better. It can also drive better or craft more optimized experiences for your customers. So if I am interacting with a chatbot, the chatbot, perhaps, if it's smart enough, it can suggest the next thing. Maybe it's not time to suggest a calendar booking. Perhaps it's time to suggest an article. So these kind of trainings around content and sales can be delivered through ChatGPT. It does require some training. It does require the content that you create, but overall, it is possible. Quick pause here. There's only a few benefits. Does anyone want to add to that in terms of benefits of ChatGPT, OpenAI in general? I have a few questions here, George. You want me to go over them? From Sunny?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so Sunny said, I have access to AI Playground, where I have got early access to Bard. Is there any advice you can give to use these AI tools, including ChatGPT, towards the agency white label feature? Thank you. So Sunny, just to be clear, Bard hasn't quite released its API to everybody. I think they're test driving it with few select clients. We don't have access to it yet, even though we have applied. And ChatGPT on VBOT, we allow you now to plug in your own key, an API key, so you can utilize it in all the features that we are integrating on the platform, okay? So that's going to be the benefits of connecting, well, one way to connect GPT to VBOT. Once we get access to Bard, we train the platform properly on Bard as well. We use their endpoints. You'll be able to do the same within VBOT. Now, where do you use that? That's a completely different question. I'm going to touch on some of the things we provide at VBOT. So please stick with us a little bit, Sunny. All right, so in terms of another question Sunny's asking, on VBOT, we have our own support, and ChatGPT has support the best advice with white label. Sunny, you can use, we are trying, and for those of you who are out of contacts, we launched a new type of support at VBOT, which is an AI-powered chat support. So just to kind of show you the interface real quick. It looks something like this. So when you come to the platform, now you have the option to use human support, an AI-powered chat support, and just our old-fashioned knowledge base. So if you click on AI chat support, you can ask questions like how to build a landing page, how to create a campaign in VBOT. But let's say I white labeled the product and you're using this. You can say how to create a campaign in Lead Buffer, which is a white label version of VBOT. It better find it. I'm not logged into the instance, but we're training this to be able to answer that question. So if your white label is, XYZ, that's your company name, this should respond to that particular question with a white label response. We try to hide our videos, but keep the snapshots in there. But all in all, hopefully this will be supported. Okay. Cool. Any questions on Google, George? Sorry, on Facebook.
Eliminate, Phil is saying on Facebook, eliminates the need to explain terms that customers. Oh, okay. Dictionary style. Oh, it's fine.
It's okay. I guess it was just the feedback. Cool. All right. So how marketers use ChatGPT to personalize customers' experiences. Now, guys, I just want to tell you that when I say ChatGPT, I could also be referring to OpenAI, the parent company, because they have a lot of APIs like DALL-E and a few others, Whisper for voice. That's also part of this entire revolution. So I don't want you to just think that we're talking about strictly ChatGPT. However, ChatGPT has been the fastest, I guess, the most human-like interaction. So we're plugging that in there, but it does apply for the rest of their APIs. All right. All right. So let's talk about how marketers use it. First and foremost, because we are a marketing company, we know that it could be used in email marketing and automation. Now, how could that be used? Just have too many screens open. So you can pass through VBout, okay, but you could be using different engine. It doesn't really matter as long as they have that integration. You can pass a prompt that says, create an email, cold email for client X that talks about service Z, right? And I'm just going to take an example. I'm an SEO company. So I can parse the question, write a cold email outreach to present my SEO company and company name. So the system will literally just produce something similar to this. So this one, I think, is an example by George. We are a marketing software company, and we want to send out email to someone who signs up to our product. Can you please help? So that's a prompt. And this is a suggestion of what ChatGPT has returned. Now in VBout, we did create our own prompt, which is a lot easier than this. You can just copy and paste it into the product, but this is one way of using it in email marketing. And in fact, there are some companies that got funded that are focused on cold sales emails generated by AI. And also it gives some recommendations about how to optimize sales. So you're seeing that revolution right now in that particular sphere. Okay. You can also see it in subject line suggestions, because subject lines obviously are some of the main drivers for open rates. If you craft a good subject line, you can request a headline from ChatGPT that gives you subject line recommendations. I've seen a couple of companies do it. I think ClickFunnels have integrated like an AI content assistant at the higher level to kind of produce subject line for you. You can do it in VBout. VBout, we have a subject line analyzer because I do still believe that you need to personalize subject lines. I do believe that you can, it's something that's personal. So in VBout, you can analyze subject lines to recommend things based on previous open rates. That's a data that's not available in OpenAI necessarily. But that's one way you can use it in email and automations. Also, it can, if you're talking about automations and people responding to your emails and SMS messages, you can detect the intent of those responses. Is it a positive? Is it a negative? And you can allow the execution of follow-up actions. So you can say, you know, I send an SMS inviting somebody to a demo. The person responds, I'm interested. Because they responded interested, now I'm going to send them my calendar and then I'm notifying my team and I'm sending that lead to Salesforce. I don't want to send it to Salesforce before that happens, right? As an example. So this could be based on intent detection, and you can build that with the logic of ChatGPT. So we have this in Viva, by the way. We have the content generation for email. And these are available under your toolkit. Okay. All right. So another question. Let's see what we have. Desiree is asking, I like that you're focused on still personalizing with AI, Richard. I'm looking to leverage AI with my unique voice to have the greatest impact. Yes, Desiree, I think as a marketer and the scale of, I think there's this AI Institute where they talk about the scale of, how AI works. And I'm going to use my drawing a little bit. So you have 0 all the way to 4, obviously. 2 or 3. 4 is 100% AI driven. So all your marketing is executed by AI, including planning, including, just reviewing results and KPIs. This is 100% AI. This is 100% human, no AI. Then you move to point 1, where you have mostly input, planning from humans, things that we are doing, and then some assistance from AI. You have 2, which is a hybrid. I would say about 50 human planning, of course, but a lot of the content, the stuff are being generated by AI and some of the fine-tuning and analyzing your KPIs. The 3 is planning, and a lot of things are being done by AI, but you are still involved in the process. If you ask me where we are today, we are moving from 1 to 2. That's pretty much this revolution. I do not think that marketing should be 100% AI. And I don't believe it should be the majority AI. I think a lot of planning, the execution should be human, but a lot of the tedious tasks like content generation should be AI assisted. So that's my input on the topic. Many people have asked me, and that's what I think. And that's the scale. So if you guys are interested in learning about it, I think you can visit the AI Institute and learn a little bit about this. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, cool.
Richard, do you have white label KB from the
white label knowledge base? The knowledge base, what we did, we assisted some digital agency partners we exported our WordPress documentation. We gave it to them so they could white label it. We try our best to mention Viva the least possible, but of course, sometimes a snapshot or video might include that. So we are happy to send you our document, our knowledge base, so you can just remove any mentions of Viva on your site. Okay. All right, Jalal, you want to add anything to this? Please go ahead.
Thank you. Just very quickly, when you started off with ChatGPT does not have the latest data sets or the latest update. I think the last update was September 2021. The cool thing about it, and I've tried this multiple times, if it does not know something and there's a knowledge base for it, by simply copying and pasting the knowledge base into ChatGPT, it knows what needs to be done. So for instance, I was using it for Midjourney, which is an AI-generated image production system, if you will. And obviously, ChatGPT does not know what Midjourney is because Midjourney started last year. And all I had to do was copy-paste the knowledge base and ask it to give me the prompts that I need to use Midjourney. And it did that beautifully. So if there's something that ChatGPT does not know and you have a knowledge base for it on the internet, plug it into ChatGPT, let it run for a second, literally, and it would give you all the information that you need from it, whether it was to create content or to ask it questions, give it prompts. So yeah, you could put in the information and you'll get the results back. It's pretty interesting and pretty cool.
Exactly. Now, this is what's giving the rise to a new breed of companies in the LLM space, the language learning models. So there's a lot of companies that you can give them the data and they will structure the data and pass it to ChatGPT or OpenAI so it can gives you or learn, just like Jalal have said. So that's a new breed of companies that are being funded right now. They are providing those models as an intermediary between your own data sets that could be more recent, more customized, and the ChatGPT. That's quite interesting. So thanks, Jalal, for sharing.
Richard, question, sorry.
Sure.
Also, when Johar was asking about the white label knowledge base, he was asking if we can share a link with a link for that.
So we have it built into the product. People can just click on the help. It gives them a drop down. They could ask questions. But we cannot guarantee it won't have mentions of VBOT. It has minimal mentions of VBOT. The video sometimes also it mentions VBOT. So there's no direct link because help.vbot.com is going to be that. I cannot white label that for the time being. But if you're interested, I can give you a copy of our knowledge base to import to your own version of WordPress. Okay? So I don't have a link necessarily directly to the knowledge base.
Okay. You want to answer more questions, Rich?
Yeah, I think somebody's asking, is there a tool that helps write good ChatGPT prompts? You can use ChatGPT to give you recommendations on writing command prompt for ChatGPT. You can say, give me, 100 prompts for writing prompts for ChatGPT. Try it.
I'm going to share a link in the chat that does exactly this. So just give me a second and I'll put the link, and you could, it basically gives you different prompts type, and yeah, I will share it in a second.
Cool. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about another personalized use is creating landing pages. Now that could start with a simple design for a landing page. So let me see if I can just pull up a couple of things here. You can say, write me a landing page for business X with 4 sections, about us, a header, a team section, a contact us form. And I can literally write it for you. Now, I've seen this break from time to time, but it is highly possible. So let's see if I can show you a quick prompt here. All right. I can say, write me, create a landing page with 4 sections, headline, about us, contact us form, and footer links. Let's see. So it generates a code for you. All right. Now, you got to give it a little bit of time. But once it stops generating, and this is getting faster, this is where sometimes it breaks. I'm going to let it run, and then I'm going to take the code and plug it into a builder so you can see exactly how this will produce, which is quite interesting. Let me go back a little bit here. Sorry, I'm opening on the other side a different engine so I can plug that code and see how it looks like, okay? So marketers can create landing pages in seconds. It can generate a basic landing page snippet. And then after that, you can generate the content for that landing page. So maybe you can say, it's a page for ebook. Can you create a headline for an ebook that does X, Y, Z, right? So let's see where we are here. Sorry, guys, I have too many things open. All right, so I finished writing the code. This is the code. Copy code. Now I'm gonna go back to VBOT, and I'm using VBOT again, guys. You can do this with any engine really that supports HTML. I'm gonna drop in just one block. Let's say it's a header block. And I'm going to click here and just paste this whole code from the other side and save. All right. So this is what it did. Content about us, a headline, contact us. You can see the design is quite weak. There's not much going on. You can make it better. But then you can start parsing more designs with, I'm sorry, you can parse some data input to create the content for that headline. For instance, and I know this is getting a little bit kind of hands-on here. Create a website headline for a company that provides carpet cleaning, service. Just totally random here, guys. All right, so now you see it just generated some ideas for me. So you see where this is headed, guys, right? The entire landing page design, structure, content can be generated through AI, but it will not replace the designer yet. You're going to have to make it a little bit prettier than it produces it now. However, it gives you the structure because now you can go in VBout and you can drag and drop things around and just literally just make it look a little bit more pretty. Okay. So that's in terms of landing page application that you can use with that. Any questions so far? You good, George?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Coming back to, I'm getting questions separately asked directly to me, but I think I'll get around to them. Social media, we are testing it in VBout. My only issue with generating caption for social media or posts for social media is that the content is not quite recent because it's 2021, just like Jadal said. So when we tried it in VBout, it gave us a little bit of a limitation there because the data wasn't recent. So if you want to create a post about the latest, I don't know, football results or the basketball finals, it might fall short on that. But an application could be generate a funny post for Twitter, generate a caption for an Instagram picture of me on a horse. It can do that, okay? It can also detect sentiments of posts and comments. So brands can get an idea about their cloud. So it can go through, let's say, the top 20 posts, analyze the comments, and it gives you a general sentiment, positive, negative, neutral. Because brand managers, they want to understand if their brand has resonated well, this could be one way to actually use it. Any questions on that?
All good, Richard.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, customer support. I think this is an area where you see a lot of companies are investing in because it literally helps with the response element. We did it at VBout. We tested it. In the beginning, I was skeptical. I do not want to replace human support because that's never going to be replaceable. But we do get some basic questions, and sometimes we get them in foreign languages. We get them in Turkish. We get them in Spanish. We get them in, Vietnamese. And it becomes a little bit hard to hire one person per country. So we took the entire knowledge base, RSS feed, that updates, I think it's a daily or weekly basis, I forgot, because we're always pushing content there. And then it feeds it to the engine, and the engine starts to answer questions. It's not perfect yet. We are training it a little bit better. It does sometimes give responses that are not hands-on or might mistaking some questions because of the keywords. Like landing pages in English is not the same as in Arabic or in Turkish. So some of these prompts are not quite there yet, but we are training it, and I think it's getting better. Now, customer support can be, or live chat bots and support can be outsourced in that kind of format that you're looking at. This is an example of us ingesting the data into ChatGPT in English, but then when we asked the question in Spanish, it responded in Spanish based on the English. So it did the entire translation, it found the answer, and then it gave a response. Okay. Now, furthermore, you can take this a level up, especially with e-commerce companies, to eliminate human responses. And I've seen some companies already do it, where you can take orders, you can take products ordered, abandoned carts, feed it to the engine. So I can come in and can say, I haven't received my last product. The system will pull my latest order. It would list the products and then it tells me which product is it. Then, I say I didn't receive the first product. It immediately pulls the tracking from the same data that you're feeding it. And then it gives you where the product is at this point. So all APIs communicating together pretty much. That could be done via live chat, and it's becoming a lot easier to do. Whereas I've seen e-commerce companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to build things like this. Now it's going to be a lot easier to provide that level of chat support. And also, a lot of clients we've seen don't necessarily like to interact with humans. They want to get the responses fairly quickly, because not every company provides 24/7 support, human support. They don't want to wait. It's maybe Saturday, 6 a.m. in the morning. So this gives them like real-time, fast response that's quite accurate. Okay. So customer support is a very growing area. And in fact, there's room there for companies creating product around customer support powered by AI. All right. Now we come to the content marketing and SEO. And obviously, this is going to be a challenge for the future for all marketers. And I'm going to probably give Jalal the floor in a second. But a lot of companies want to, especially if you're a web design agency, SEO optimization agency, you always want to be on top of the content of the website, the headlines, the taglines, the structure. So how in depth does this go when it comes to content marketing and SEO? That's probably a question. I'm gonna ask Jalal. But a lot of companies have built products around generating content, blog posts, descriptions, call to action, and CTAs, right? Jasper is one of them. It generates blog posts for you, it generates email copy for you, and others. You can have a structure for a presentation created. So when it comes to content, the engine does pretty well. I think this is its kind of main powers. But that poses an issue, is that how do you differentiate AI-generated content from non-AI generated content? How is this personalized to your brand or not? Is the content actually accurate? Does it provide the level of insights and depth of insight that you as an expert provide? I don't think it can replace you yet, especially let's say if you're, an SEO expert that have very specific tricks on how to create 1,000 landing pages. It's not going to provide you that depth of expertise. So it's still lacking on that front. But it does a pretty good job in basic, solid, real content. So Jalal, when it comes to SEO, help us out. Where does the thing stand in terms of ChatGPT and how it empowers it?
Thank you. First, let's distinguish very, very, very clearly right from the get-go. There's a massive difference, and Richard, you can pitch in on this. There's a massive difference, I've noticed at least, between ChatGPT 3.5 and 4.0. Whether I want to create content for regardless of the purpose, but with ChatGPT 4.0, and this is extremely important, where you're saying, Richard, earlier about how do you personalize the message. If we're looking at writing prompts that, if we want to create a blog or a social media post, the more information we give ChatGPT 4.0, so everything I'm going to be talking about will relate to 4.0. 3.5 is really obviously it's a dummier version of 4.0, so I don't rely on it. But if we're using 4.0, it's super important to kind of tell GPT who we are as humans, how we're feeling, what's going on with what we want to write. That's why, Richard, what you were saying earlier, would it replace us just yet? No, obviously not. But we definitely have to feed it more information about, who we are as humans for it to respond with what we want it to. Obviously, it has the basics, as you said, but when we're looking for SEO content, it will depend on how serious, if you will, this content is going to be. Meaning, if we're asking 4.0 to write a meta description, then we need to pause for a second, look at it, read it. Does it make sense for the article that I want to publish, for instance, or for the web page? Is this something that I'm looking for? We cannot just copy paste. Your input as a human being has to always be embedded in whatever it is that we're writing. Definitely down the line, where I see it going, Google now is not, with 4.0 at least, I'm not seeing duplications just yet, maybe because it's still early on, but I do expect that to happen at some point. And as you said, it will cause some issues down the line. So definitely use ChatGPT 4.0 to guide you through what needs to be written. Just do not copy paste it word for word. If you want, for shits and giggles, you want to test it out on, to test out how Google is responding to the indexing of the pages, definitely buy like a random domain, upload it, plug it with content as much as possible, see how Google reacts to it. But if you have your own domain and your company, you don't want to mess around with it. That's not to say we can't use it. I am for ChatGPT 4.0, but we need to give it context and content of our own, which is a little bit time consuming, because in your head, you're like, well, why am I wasting my time? Just, write me the prompt, write me the post already. But the more we do that, the more, ChatGPT will understand how we think and who we are as humans. Definitely we can use it for social media. Definitely we can use it for emails, but this is very important. The more the text that you want people to pay attention to, the more important that text is, the more you want to have your own language in it. Meaning, I know we can provide different subject options. However, make sure to always put in your tone, your voice, who you are as a human being, because at the end of the day, with time, everyone's going to know whether content is generated by AI or it's human. So I don't know if that answered the question, Richard, but there's definitely going to be a mad show a few years down the line, and I'm super intrigued by it because, and sorry, one last thing, if just a little bit of off topic with ChatGPT, for those that have 4.0, forget about generating content, forget about, using it for these, bits and pieces of writing content. 4.0 can really be your brainstorming human or artificial intelligence, human-like person, if you will. I've used it multiple times. The cool thing is that it's still obviously for 3.5 and 4.0 remembers the prompt, so you can go back to it. But the style of communication, there's so much that can be done with 4.0 to help you better your business, not just from a content generation standpoint. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Yep, it does. So I guess, what Jalal is trying to say is SEO is a lot more than generating content. It's generating your content. And ChatGPT does not know you. It knows the data it has. So if you want to be found, you need to write your content, not ChatGPT's content. As much as ChatGPT is going to learn, it cannot learn how to do internal links, how to get link backs. It can produce content as much as you want. And second, I think we are all going to come to a point where we're going to read an article and we're going to be like, this is definitely ChatGPT generated, right? Like there's this hint of ChatGPT. It's almost like that little spice that's always there in your paella, right? Where you can always taste it. It's the same with the content generated by ChatGPT. I've seen, like, every time I've seen something and I read it, I know it's ChatGPT at 90+% accuracy.
100%.
Anyways, so with that being said, a lot of companies are actually writing now, this is ran by ChatGPT. I get inboxes, emails, newsletters saying on the bottom, ran by ChatGPT. So it's good to give that disclaimer. And when it comes to SEO, I think you might not find, or you might find Google at any time in the near future saying, if you have AI generated content on your site, that might not be indexed, hopefully not penalized, right? So that's
definitely.
That's Thank you, Jadad, for the input.
Richard, one last thing, just because you mentioned the linking, you're right, ChatGPT will not be able to link, but if you go on your sitemap and you plug in literally your links into ChatGPT and you ask it to come up with either topics, keywords, analyze the data, it will do that for you. So it can write you a blog using the links that you've already given it. So it won't do it on its own, but if you give it that information, it would also be able to generate the blogs with the links inside the blog. And all you have to do is just copy paste it and you will live happily ever after. So yes, there's nothing that almost ChatGPT can't do.
All right, sweet. So here are some tips for you guys then. Thanks for that. Awesome. Now, marketers are also using ChatGPT for creating advertising copy for ads, particularly Facebook, AdWords, YouTube. And I think that could be a great way because you can say create 10 different content ideas for ads for this. So I've seen a lot of companies start to kind of rotate and create ad testing and A/B split testing based on descriptions provided by ChatGPT, and then send the data back to a model that's going to analyze the results and gives you, let's say, out of this, I have 10 different ideas for captions for ads. I can determine that 8, 9, and 5 has generated the most ROI from my ads, right? Obviously, you need to have your ads set up properly. It's not going to replace the entire advertising process, but it can do a pretty good job at suggesting, and it can do a very good job at analyzing the output of the data because it can come in forms of Excel file exports or API endpoints through Facebook. So some things on the advertising side also can be, pardon me, can be used here as well. Awesome. Voice assistant, a growing area as well. I mean, you've seen Otter.ai and a few other tools that does some voice kind of transcription from events like this and then analyzes it and creates some bullet points and then also creates summaries and blogs. You'll be able to see that across the board, but also voice assistant, obviously we're used to using like Google Home, Amazon, and Siri, so there will be connection there and integration. I started using Voice GPT, which you can narrate questions to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT will be narrated back to you in terms of the response. They have a couple of plugins. They have an app that you can use, which is quite useful if you want to give voice to your ChatGPT engine. Okay. So you can also create like an entire prompt that it's almost like an interview and I'm testing with something cool is I'm interviewing different lifelike sort of characters in ChatGPT, like doctors and others, to see their knowledge. So I come up with like 20 questions. So here's a command that I tested. Which is quite funny, but it's actually decently accurate. Pretend you're a PhD child psychologist named Rose who is being interviewed about child behavior. So it spit the response as an interviewer. Thank you for joining. We're excited to have you here to discuss child behavior. And then it goes on all the knowledge it has internally. And it can continue, and I can say more. And it can generate more content around well-being, right? So you can have like an hour-long interview with Dr. Rose in this case. And that could be narrated back, and that could be transcribed, and it could become content of some sort. Anyways, so that's a cool application when it comes to ChatGPT and voice on that front. Any questions so far, George?
No, Richard, all good. Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to either unmute or type your question.
They cannot unmute. I think they need to type the question, George. Sorry, this is Zoom. It's not.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Zoom webinar. Yeah. You can just ask the question in the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I think I'm almost towards the end of this section, and I'll give you some examples of companies using AI that could be relevant. You're going to see the rise of AI process automation integration, something that we are actually building. It's going to be called Open Build AI, where you can build microservices in just minutes using a drag and drop interface. So where everybody is doing the typing process and getting the prompts, or you're using some third party to perhaps, upload things and create documents, you'll be able to create an entire process end to end, and you can turn it into a microservice. So for instance, you can have a form and you can say, I'm going to translate your 50 page, up to 50 pages of your English document into 5 languages of your choice. So the person will upload a document, choose 5 languages, maybe pay $5, and the system will generate the translation, sends it back to the person in, let's say, a few minutes, hours. You will handle or create that kind of microprocess. Another example of a microprocess could be somebody filling out a form on the website. What I would like to do is I want to generate a poem for that person. I want to email it back to him or her. I also want to create a PowerPoint presentation personalized to that person. I want to create it and plug in, generate pictures for slide 1, 2, 3, 4, merge them into that document, and then eventually upload it to the cloud where a person can access that presentation. These are microservices, microprocesses that you can automate in minutes. So we have an early access form. I'll put in here the link to it, George, as well, if you can. So openbuild.ai. Really excited about it. We've been working in the background, something that will be integrated also in VBout, but it could be its own standalone just for that product. You don't have to touch a line of code. And the beauty of it is that we're also going to make it, we're going to give you the option to paywall those services. So someone has to pay you in order for them to use that particular microprocess that you built. So you can create hundreds of these microprocesses that do certain types of tasks and charge $1 here, $1 there to create a revenue source. You can use it to create an article every day, upload it to your own blog, and obviously make sure that you put the right disclaimer. This is ChatGPT created. Maybe push it to draft and your team review it, personalize it, and then they will launch it. It could be also for other things, content, like doing some proofreading, summarizing. One amazing recipe that we are testing it through is somebody uploads a new article or video. That video gets transcribed. The transcription gets parsed through the learning engine. The engine creates a summary of it and narrates it through voice. The voice goes up to the cloud or your own file manager, and then it gets emailed to your team. I'm just listing probably one of thousands of potential recipes you can build with this. So that's a product that we're building, and it's going to be launched. It's AI process automation. This is the future. One of the things that you can apply OpenAI for as well, because a lot of the talks has been around using the API, just typing commands and getting responses. But how you take these and you make real world processes is going to be the future of this. Okay. Awesome. So again, if you want early access, please join the waitlist. I would love to kind of get back to you once we launch the beta with private feedback loop. And yeah. Last point here, sorry, I missed this one, is a command line marketing and sales. This is where you can type your marketing command instead of having to go through wizards and having to go through forms, create an email, whatever. You can say something like add contact name, Richard, with email X to list hot leads. And the system will automatically take this person and add them to your database. So command line marketing and sales is going to be something big. I think HubSpot started the product, but you need to have their $2,000-3,000 license. I'm just exaggerating here, but you get the point. We're going to be building something in Viva. We took all our API and we are training a model with some internal testing on this. So a lot of stuff happening internally that is going to help you with this particular type of marketing. Awesome. Any questions so far? Before I give a few examples of companies applying this now, and then we can wrap up the session. George?
No, Chaplin is saying this is going to make such a magnificent difference in the NGO community to do more with less.
Yeah, I totally agree. For anybody who was just trying to, I mean, automation is nothing new, right? But AI-powered automation at that robustness, accessing all that data and automating it is going to be the future. So, cool. Now, some companies using this, Salesforce recently launched their Einstein GPT, which is a command line marketing and sales in a sense that you can parse input into their CRM without having to use their bulky interface. You can write emails, schedule appointments, schedule an appointment with Rich at Vivout on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's the kind of prompt you can feed it. Similar to also what HubSpot had provided. So obviously they go head in head when it comes to CRM competition and stuff like that. So Salesforce is one company leveraging their Einstein GPT to provide content responses. Snapchat also launched an assistant. I don't know what they called it. It's called My AI, right, George? I don't use Snapchat, so apologies.
Yes, exactly. My AI.
My AI, okay. So it's just you ask a question and it gives you a response, very simple. But they trained it very well to avoid, any sexually explicit content or political related topics. So they were training it to be as polite as possible, if you may, because the nature of Snapchat is not quite the PG. So with that being said, Snapchat is another company that is using OpenAI within their product. Duolingo, product that I like. They've done an amazing job, obviously, with their learning. You can learn any language with them, or I don't know how many, but they created more like an interface that you can ask for feedback on your answers. They can also do role play. So you can have like a persona you can communicate with in a specific language of choice. So they are taking the power of ChatGPT to kind of expand on their product. A great application for that as well. And last but not least, in Vivout, we have been building, not since ChatGPT, but OpenAI last year. Many of you know we created the email content assistant. We have an emotional detection for a sentiment analysis for social media that we haven't launched yet. It's internal. We just need to plug it in with the right API, I would say, use case. We have intent detection in SMS, so somebody responds, hopefully in email, not too far from now. And I showed you the AI-powered chat support. We also have predictive sending. That's not powered by OpenAI. It's fully built internally by our predictive and AI team. We take all our data, every contact's preferred open time, open rates, and we give you the best recommendation for it. That particular prompt will also be supporting, hopefully not too long from now, the command line marketing. And, the idea here is just to integrate a lot of the AI capabilities, not necessarily just ChatGPT, into many features of Viva, some of which are ChatGPT, OpenAI, LangChain. It could be maybe Bard, if Bard provides some better responses in the future. So we're going to create that kind of cascade of products based on the best use case. Whew. All right. That was a lot. So I want to thank everybody who joined us. I do understand there are a lot more applications. I focused a lot on marketing, sales kind of talk. Also, thank you for those of you who stayed throughout. I think we have one of the highest retentions on events. We have about 80 people all averaging. Seems to be a topic of interest. We will be sharing the content for these after. If you're not on our wait list, please join. I mean, if you're not on our newsletter distribution, please join us through the homepage of the vbout.com. If you haven't joined our Facebook, please, George, drop in the chat a link as well to our Facebook group. If you'd like to learn more about vbout, there's a demo request there. You can speak to a success manager, very laid back, no sales pressure. If we're right fit for you, you can adopt us. And we are happy to work with you. Other than that, if you haven't joined the waitlist for openbelt.ai, I'll provide the link again. So you can join the waitlist for the beta release on that product. It's going to be strictly for building AI microprocesses and AI process automation. And yeah, any final questions before we wrap up the call today? George, anything on Facebook?
No, it's going great on Facebook. Would like also to thank Sunny. He really engaged with us and mentioned on Facebook as well. So thank you, Sunny.
Well, thank you, Sunny. Thank you, everybody who joined. I also want to thank our guest for today, Jalal. Thank you so much. He dropped in the chat a link for you if you want to connect with Jalal, anything SEO related. He knows his stuff, so you can discuss with him any questions. Thank you, Jalal, for joining us. George,
thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, George and Elsa, for helping me put the content together in the presentation. And I'll see you guys on the upcoming session next month, where we're going to be discussing the next topic. Not sure what it is yet, but we'll announce it very shortly. Again, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Great weekend. And we'll see you on the upcoming event. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.